As the Texas sun sinks behind the rolling hills of hill country, the air hums with quiet stories. There, on a sprawling ranch framed by oak trees and the shimmer of a private lake, once lived a man whose words shaped American music. This is the home where Kris Kristofferson, the poet of the working man and the rebel of Nashville, chose to rest. Far from red carpets, but closer to the earth he always sang about. But before this land became his peace, his journey began in the wild heart of Texas and led him all the way to Hollywood. Kris Kristofferson's story begins in the border town of Brownsville, Texas, where the dust met the wind and discipline met destiny. Born on June 22, 1936, Kris grew up in a proud military household. His father, Lars Henry Kristofferson, was a decorated U.S. Air Force Major General, and the family name carried expectations of service and success. From a young age, Kris lived between military bases and boarding schools, learning order, manners, and responsibility, but also quietly nurturing a love for words and melody. After graduating from high school in California, he attended Pomona College, where his brilliance and energy began to bloom. He was an honor student, athlete, and writer all at once, excelling in football, rugby, and track while majoring in literature. He graduated cum laude in 1958 with a Bachelor of Arts, winning awards for his essays and short fiction. But even then, there was something restless in him, something that couldn't be contained by medals or ranks. His intellectual promise earned him a Rhodes Scholarship to Oxford University's Merton College, where he studied English literature. Between classes, he boxed, played rugby, and for the first time, recorded a few original songs. Oxford was where the soldier's son became an artist, soaking up poetry, philosophy, and the power of storytelling. His influences ranged from Shakespeare and Blake to Hank Williams. He graduated with honors, later receiving an honorary doctorate from Pomona for his literary and musical contributions. Still, duty called louder than desire. After Oxford, Kris followed family tradition and joined the U.S. Army, training as a helicopter pilot and completing the brutal Ranger School. Stationed in West Germany, he rose to the rank of captain and led a platoon. Yet even amid drills and discipline, he carried a guitar. Late nights were spent writing songs, dreaming of Nashville's neon lights. When his service ended, he was offered a prestigious post teaching English at West Point Military Academy. But he shocked everyone, especially his father, by turning it down. He chose instead to chase an uncertain future in songwriting. The decision cost him his family's approval. His parents cut him off completely. By 1965, he packed a few belongings and moved to Nashville, where life hit hard. He worked odd jobs, janitor, bartender, and even helicopter pilot for an oil company, while writing songs in the margins of his days. He slept in cheap motels, sometimes on studio floors, but his grit was unwavering. He handed demo tapes to anyone who'd listen, including June Carter Cash, who promised to pass one to Johnny Cash. When Cash didn't respond, Kris did something no one could ignore. He landed a helicopter right in Johnny Cash's front yard with a demo of Sunday Mornin' Comin' Down. Cash finally listened. The song became a hit, winning Song of the Year at the Country Music Association Awards in 1970. And just like that, the janitor became Nashville royalty. His words were honest, raw, and poetic. Songs like Me and Bobby McGee, Help Me Make It Through the Night, and For the Good Times turned him into one of America's greatest lyricists. Then came Hollywood. In 1976, he starred opposite Barbra Streisand in A Star Is Born, earning a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor. His charisma, combined with his songwriting depth, made him a rare hybrid, both cowboy and philosopher, both outlaw and intellectual. He went on to act in films like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Bloom in Love, and later Blade, proving that his artistry transcended genres and generations. Even as age softened his voice, it never dulled his truth. Albums like Feeling Mortal, 2013, showed a man reflecting on life's journey with quiet acceptance. The scholar turned soldier, turned storyteller. And in 2023, at the Hollywood Bowl, he sang "Lovin' You Was Easier" beside Roseanne Cash, honoring Willie Nelson's 90th birthday, a moment that felt like his final bow to the stage. And when the applause finally faded, he found peace not in the lights of Hollywood, but in the golden fields of Texas, at the ranch where his story came home. Texas Ranch, Hill Country Haven. Spread across 8,384 square feet, the main house crowns a hill overlooking a spring-fed lake where the Klein and Stevens Creeks converge. A private concrete dam keeps the waters shimmering year-round, while the wraparound deck stretches wide like an open arm, greeting the horizon. It's not hard to imagine Kris sitting there with a guitar at sunset, the Texas sky burning orange behind him, every chord carried off by the wind. Inside, the ranch is a blend of rustic comfort and quiet sophistication, exactly what you'd expect from a man who walked away from Hollywood's chaos to find peace in simplicity. The vaulted ceilings, stone fireplaces, and floor-to-ceiling windows create a rhythm of space and light that feels both cinematic and deeply personal. Every room tells a story, the kind written not in ink but in dust and daylight. The gourmet kitchen, outfitted with top-of-the-line appliances, is large enough for family gatherings, but intimate enough for a midnight cup of coffee shared with an old song. 2 master bedrooms, each with private decks and sweeping lake views, speak to comfort without excess. The ranch's 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms make it ideal for family visits, or for the occasional guest who just needs to escape city noise for a while. Outdoors, the estate offers a natural playground. Paved trails, open pastures, and lush green spaces frame the property, connecting to the larger Maverick Ranch community, a gated enclave known for its exotic wildlife, clubhouse, and resort-style amenities. Here, you'll find locals playing basketball and baseball, kids splashing in the Blue Hole living water, and neighbors hiking up to the overlook, where the hill country seems to go on forever. But despite the luxury, there's nothing pretentious about this place. The design whispers rather than shouts. Bamboo blinds over silk drapes, rough-hewn beams above polished wood floors, and furniture that looks as though it was chosen for comfort first, beauty second. It's the kind of space where you'd expect laughter, quiet reflection, and maybe the faint strum of "Me and Bobby McGee" echoing through the rafters. The ranch also includes a guest house, stables, a workshop, and a multi-car garage, all practical touches that reflect Kris's down-to-earth nature. To him, the real luxury wasn't the house itself, but the freedom it offered, to write, to think, to rest. It's said he spent many of his later years here with his wife, Lisa Myers, enjoying long walks, visiting nearby wineries, and simply breathing the same Texas air he'd grown up under. Every sunset here feels like the closing line of a ballad, soft, wistful, and infinite. This wasn't just where Kris Kristofferson lived, it was where he belonged. And yet, the Texas hills weren't his only sanctuary. When he wasn't home under wide skies, he often found peace by the Pacific, at another retreat that mirrored his soul in a different way. Mendocino Ranch, California's oceanfront legend. For more than 4 decades, this 557-acre oceanfront sanctuary was Kris Kristofferson's coastal refuge, a place where fame fell silent and the sound of the waves became the only applause that mattered. He bought the ranch in 1980, long before coastal estates became status symbols. At the time, Mendocino was still wild, a place of redwoods, fog, and salt wind, where ranchers and poets shared the same sunrise. The property itself dates back to the 1800s, when it began life as a dairy farm. Today, traces of that old-world craftsmanship still stand. Weathered barns, stone fences, and the original roadhouse, its wood aged by salt air, yet sturdy as the man who owned it. From the moment you arrive, it's clear this isn't just another celebrity estate. Kristofferson Ranch is a living landscape, part history, part him. Nearly 1 mile of ocean frontage stretches along the cliffs, where the surf crashes into Devil's Basin, a jagged outcrop so cinematic it was used in The Karate Kid Part 3. The view is nothing short of primal. The Pacific roaring beneath you, mist rising through the trees, and gulls circling above like notes on a page of sheet music. A network of private roads winds through the property, from the water's edge up to rolling coastal meadows and ridge-top plateaus overlooking Manchester State Park. On a clear day, you can see as far as Point Arena Lighthouse, its white tower glowing like a candle against the horizon. While the ranch exudes rustic simplicity, it's far from primitive. Multiple structures dot the property: residences, barns, workshops, and storage buildings, each positioned to maximize light and ocean views. The interiors reflect Kristofferson's minimalist philosophy: timber beams, wide plank floors, and windows that frame the Pacific like living paintings. There's no pretense here, just space, to think, to breathe, to create. Even the landscape seems to echo his songs, wild, wistful, and enduring. Between the redwood groves and open pastures, deer graze undisturbed. The air smells of pine, salt, and rain. It's a place that doesn't ask for your attention, it earns it. Just 3 hours north of San Francisco, the ranch feels worlds away from city life, yet it's surprisingly accessible. Little River Airport lies only 20 minutes from the property, and the Michelin-starred restaurants of Elk are a short drive down the coast. The combination of isolation and refinement makes the ranch both a private retreat and a masterpiece of location, the kind of place where peace and power coexist. In August 2023, the Kristofferson family put the property on the market for $17.2 million, the first time in over 40 years it had been offered to the public. The listing called it a sanctuary of history, heritage, and harmony. But for those who knew Kris, it was more than that. It was his final songwriting cabin, one that stretched for hundreds of acres and faced the eternal rhythm of the Pacific. And for a legend who never chased money, it's fitting that his fortune came not from indulgence, but from integrity. So how much did this rebel poet truly earn, and what did he leave behind? Income and net worth. When Kris Kristofferson passed away in 2024, his net worth was estimated at $50 million, a fortune built not from luxury branding or business empires, but from a lifetime of music, film, and meaning. The cornerstone of that legacy was his songwriting catalog. Few artists have written words that outlived their own voice the way Kris did. Hits like Me and Bobby McGee, Help Me Make It Through the Night, Sunday Morning Comin' Down, and For the Good Times weren't just popular. They became part of America's emotional DNA. Covered by icons like Janis Joplin and Johnny Cash, these songs generated $20 to $25 million in royalties from publishing rights, radio airplay, and licensing deals across decades. Even today, they still echo in commercials, soundtracks, and jukeboxes worldwide. Then came the albums, 20 solo releases that captured his gravelly poetry and outlaw charm. From The Silver-Tongued Devil and I to Feeling Mortal, each project added a layer to his artistic wealth. Touring and record sales across the 1970s to 1990s brought in another $10 to $15 million, with packed arenas and loyal fans who came not for spectacle, but for soul. Of course, Kristofferson's career was more than music. It was a three-dimensional performance that spilled onto the silver screen. His acting work, spanning 50-plus films and television roles, diversified his income and introduced him to a new generation. His Golden Globe-winning turn in A Star is Born, 1976, and his later appearances in Convoy and the Blade trilogy, 1998 to 2004, provided steady paychecks and enduring residuals. The Hollywood chapter added $5 to $10 million to his lifetime earnings, proof that his voice could command attention even without a guitar in hand. But perhaps his most underappreciated income source was the Highwaymen supergroup. The legendary collaboration with Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Waylon Jennings. Between 1985 and 1995, their 4 albums and sold-out global tours grossed millions, contributing another $5 to $10 million to Kristofferson's name. Those years weren't about money, though. They were about kinship, legacy, and carrying the torch for outlaw country into the modern age. Beyond the stage and screen, Kris also found success as an author and public speaker. His memoirs, The Measure of a Man and This Life, reflected his deep introspection and philosophy, earning $1 to $2 million through publishing deals, speaking engagements, and audiobook sales. He wrote the way he lived, raw, honest, and with a steady hand on truth's guitar string. Still, to those who knew him best, Kris Kristofferson's fortune could never be summed up by spreadsheets or property deeds. His wealth lay in the millions of hearts his words had touched, the artists he had inspired, and the principles he refused to compromise. For Kris Kristofferson, charity was never a side note to his fame. It was the rhythm beneath his entire life's song. Philanthropy. From the early 1970s until his final years, Kristofferson stood with those who had no stage of their own. He was a lifelong ally of the United Farm Workers UFW and a close friend of its founder, Cesar Chavez. Kris performed multiple benefit concerts, including donating 6 entire shows in 2017 for the union's 50th anniversary, raising funds for migrant laborers and their families. His presence wasn't about publicity, it was about solidarity. He also became a powerful voice for Amnesty International, aligning his music with global human rights campaigns. Whether performing for prisoners of conscience or calling for peace during political unrest, Kris used his platform to remind the world that art could be activism. Across the Atlantic, his generosity extended to Ireland, a country he considered a spiritual home. Through the Irish Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, ISPCC, and Childline, Kris donated over €50,000 from his Dublin concerts between 2016 and 2018, funding the country's 24-hour child helpline and programs for abused and neglected children. It was a cause he championed quietly but passionately, proving that compassion knows no borders. Kris's philanthropy often intersected with music. He performed for Bread and Roses, a nonprofit that brings live performances to hospitals, shelters, and prisons, places where hope is often in short supply. In 2019, he headlined a small, intimate concert at Hop Monk Novato in California, raising funds to bring music therapy to people in need. His empathy for children affected by war and poverty also led him to support UNICEF and War Child, performing and donating to global initiatives that provided food, shelter, and education in war-torn regions. His involvement dated back to the 1979 Music for UNICEF concert, where he and Rita Coolidge contributed performances to raise funds for global child welfare. As his fame grew, Kris turned his focus to health causes. He supported the Muhammad Ali Parkinson Center and Celebrity Fight Night Foundation, both dedicated to research and care for Parkinson's disease, a cause deeply personal to him, especially as he battled his own health challenges later in life. Through benefit concerts and fundraising appearances, he helped direct millions toward treatment and awareness programs. Perhaps one of his most remarkable gestures came in 2013, when he performed at a charity concert for the Shalom Foundation in Tennessee. That single night raised over $350,000, funding surgeries for children in Guatemala suffering from congenital conditions. Even after his passing, Kris's spirit of giving endures. A posthumous 2024 tribute screening of A Star is Born benefited the Bill Graham Memorial Foundation, which supports music education programs for underprivileged youth. Every cause he touched shared a common thread: humanity. His philanthropy wasn't about writing checks, it was about writing change. But behind the fame and the philanthropy stood the man himself: husband, father, thinker, and poet. Personal life. He first married Frances Fran Mavia Beer in 1961, his college sweetheart and the woman who stood by him during his struggling songwriter years. The marriage lasted through the 1960s, a decade of ambition and restlessness, but ended in divorce in 1969 as Kris's music began to take off and fame came knocking. They had 2 children together. Shortly afterward, he entered one of the most famous yet fleeting relationships in rock and country history with Janis Joplin. The two were together in 1970, during the height of Joplin's fame and Kristofferson's early breakthrough. Their connection was electric and chaotic, the kind of romance that burns bright but fast. She passed away only a few months later, but not before recording his song Me and Bobby McGee, which became a posthumous #1 hit and forever bound their names in music history. In 1973, Kris married singer Rita Coolidge, forming one of the most glamorous couples in the 1970s music scene. They collaborated musically, recording duets like Loving Arms and Please Don't Tell Me How the Story Ends. But like many high-profile marriages, the strain of fame and constant touring took its toll. They divorced in 1980, though they remained respectful of each other's careers. The marriage produced one daughter, Casey, who later became a talented musician herself. By 1983, Kris found lasting peace with Lisa Myers, a lawyer from Malibu who brought stability into his often tumultuous life. Together, they built a strong partnership that lasted until his death. Their marriage spanned over 4 decades and produced 5 children, creating a large, blended family that Kris adored. Through the years, Kris remained a devoted father and husband, even as his health began to decline. In 1999, he underwent coronary artery bypass surgery, which he recovered from successfully. But by the mid-2000s, he faced a mysterious illness that left him struggling with memory loss and fatigue. For years, doctors misdiagnosed him with Alzheimer's disease, only for it to later be revealed as Lyme disease. After extensive antibiotic treatments in California, he began to regain much of his health, a recovery he credited to the love and persistence of Lisa and their family. Still, age and time eventually caught up. On September 28, 2024, Kris Kristofferson passed away peacefully at his home in Hana, Hawaii, surrounded by his wife and children. He was 88 years old. The family did not disclose the cause of death, honoring his wish for privacy. True to his poetic nature, Kris had left specific instructions for his gravestone. He wanted the opening lines from Leonard Cohen's Bird on the Wire engraved upon it. Like a bird on a wire, like a drunkard in a midnight choir. I tried my way to be free. It was a perfect farewell, a humble acknowledgement from a man who spent his life chasing truth through words and melody. After his passing, tributes poured in from across the entertainment world. Dolly Parton, Reba McEntire, and Miranda Lambert shared heartfelt messages on social media, while Willie Nelson and Ashley McBryde penned touching essays about their dear friend and fellow highwayman. Artists like Jason Isbell, Emmylou Harris, and Casey Musgraves performed his songs in tribute concerts across the country. To those who knew him, Kris Kristofferson wasn't just a songwriter or an actor. He was a philosopher with a guitar, a soldier who became a poet, and a rebel who believed kindness was the greatest form of courage. He left behind 8 children, 8 decades of art, and one enduring message. Live honestly, love deeply, and keep writing your truth until the very end. And though the man is gone, his words remain, echoing across rivers, ranches, and radios, a voice that will never fade into silence. Thank you for staying with us on this journey through his life, legacy, and the places he called home. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of icons who shaped our world. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.